I'm Richard Alston. I'm Professor of Roman History at Royal Holloway, and this is one of a series of short talks recorded in my spare room in lockdown conditions. What I'm going to talk to you about today is imperial sovereignty and the restoration of the Republic, related to Augustus, Octavian, and events of 28 BCE, very moment of foundation. So where are we? Octavian in 28 BC. What's our situation? Well, after Actium, when Octavian and Agrippa defeated Antony and Cleopatra at the Battle of Actium and effectively made Octavian master of the Roman world, we're just after the defeat of Antony and Cleopatra in Egypt in 30 BC. Octavian has made it back to Rome, and the key situation is, how will Octavian rule after 28 BCE? Now, for historians, there is a problem here. In subsequent material, Octavian claims to have restored the Republic. And yet, as historians, from roughly 10 minutes after this point, history has tended to see 28 and 27 as the moment of imperial formation, when Octavian becomes Augustus and thus becomes the first emperor of Rome. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to look at two coin types of 28 BCE and how they illuminate this problem. These coins are contemporary and offer a test to us the political messages of 28 BCE. They're very contemporary sources. We have nothing else that is so up to date. They're going to offer us insight into the nature of Roman politics in this time, but also into the nature of political power in general. It gives us something to think about, especially around the notions of sovereignty. Okay, let's look at the first coin. This is a coin of 28 BC. As you can see, it's a gold coin. It's an Aureus, and it wasn't known until 1992. It was a new discovery, and this is in a remarkably good condition. It was bought in 1995 and is now in the British Museum, and that's its catalogue number. Once this coin was discovered, another version of it was identified in the Blackburn Museum, where it had been placed by a Mr. Hart in the beginning of the 20th century, and although it is a recognisably the same coin, it's clearly in a much worse state of preservation. So, what can we tell about this coin? Let's look at one side to begin with. This is very easy. We have a text here, Imperator Caesar Divi Filius Cors 6. General Caesar, son of the deified, consul for the sixth time, which dates it firmly to 28 BC. What we see is an Octavian figure, pretty standard portraiture type. He's young, he's possibly modelled on Apollo in terms of his hairstyle, in terms of his profile, and he's dressed in the celebration of victory, as we can see from the laurels which are wrapped around his head, which also make a connection to Apollo. On the other side of the coin, we have a text and a figure. As we can see, the figure is sitting on a bench. The bench is probably a magisterial bench, and is holding in his right hand, dressed in a toga, holding in his right hand a scroll, which he is handing over to somebody off screen. That is coming from a box or a basket, which is by his feet, so something is being given here. Text says leges et jura PR restituit, which translates as he restores the laws and rights, this could be of or to, the people of Rome. What does that mean? Well, rights, jura, are the civil rights of the people, not necessarily enshrined in statute law, but rights which the Romans had had from time immemorial and define the rights of citizens. Laws are statutes which protect those rights of the Roman citizens. This is connecting out to an important part of Roman political ideology, in which a difference is made between governance by personal decision. So when a tyrant makes a decision, they make that by personal decision, and that is the mark of the monarch or the tyrant. A tyrant will ignore civil rights, will ignore the Jura of the Populi Romani, and in ignoring those rights, they will act as a tyrannical, domineering figure. And that's the importance of the stories of sexual violence and tyrannical behavior we see in the early Roman Republic. Sexual violence against a Roman citizen was the mark of a tyrant, and that led to those tyrants being overthrown. By contrast, governance by laws are the mark of the Republic. Republics protect the persons of the citizens, protect those rights of the citizens, and they do that by law. The claim here is then very obvious. Octavian, as a result of his victory, is making the claim that he, very clearly he, restores the fundamentals of republican law and thus restores the Republic. I want to read this in connection with a second coin. This is a silver coin from the same mint of Ephesus and is also of 28 BCE. Again, we'll look at one side first. This is the image, and this is an image of Pax, the goddess peace. Coin is from Asia Minor and Turkey. It corresponds to the style of coins that were being minted at that time in that area, and it's on the weight standard being used in that area. It's thus a traditional Asian coin with a traditional image, which is the snake emerging from the basket on the right-hand side of the coin. What we have here is a picture of Peace, the goddess Peace, surrounded by a laurel wreath, which symbolizes victory. Her name is written to her right, which is not the most subtle of political symbols, but makes it clear what we are looking at. Pax is, of course, Latin, although this is a Greek-speaking area. She is not Nike, the Greek form. It's thus a Roman political language designed to address a Roman political issue. Let's flip the coin. And here we get the heads. The heads has a longer text. Imp Caesar divi filius, cos 6, libertatis PR vindex. Imperator Caesar, son of the deified, saviour of the liberty of the Roman people. Vindex is a difficult word to translate, but saviour is about as close as you can get. This is again a claim for republican restoration. For Romans, libertas, liberty, is what differentiates monarchy and tyranny from the time of the Republic. Beginning of the Republic in 509 BC was proclaimed by the historians of the Augustan period as being the moment where Rome became a free people, as being opposed to a people oppressed by a monarchy. The message of the coin is thus very clear. Pax and Octavian brings about liberty. Liberty is associated with the Republic. The message of the two coins then is very simple in one regard. Octavian is here proclaiming that he has restored the Republic, meaning the rights and protections and liberty of the Roman people. What's slightly more complicated is that in doing this, the Republic seems to be in the gift of Octavian. It is what he has achieved, it is what he has done. He has made the Republic, restored the Republic for or to the Roman people. And that's a paradox for this new regime, which parallels the paradoxical nature of the Augustan period, which I outlined in my first couple of sentences. Why is it a paradox? Well, the rights restored by Octavian in 28 were exactly those removed by Octavian and his triumviral allies in 43 BC, in the context of the emergency of civil war after the death of Julius Caesar. And that leads us to ask some fundamental political questions. In what sort of regime, or what sort of regime is it that fundamental rights can be removed and then restored by a political authority? How fundamental are those rights if they depend upon a political authority for their existence? In what sort of a regime is it that those fundamental rights are at the discretion of a single individual? What sort of a regime is it which celebrates a man for allowing the preservation of civil rights? In the history of the emperors that follows, those civil rights are clearly at the discretion of the emperor. If the emperor decides that someone is an enemy, then the emperor removes the personal civil protections of the individual. In this image, which is called the so-called Meroe head of Augustus from 28 BCE, or thereabouts, maybe a year earlier, we see the young Octavian as Alexander. Alexander, Octavian, is not altogether compatible with a traditional republic. Fundamentally, since the coins show us that liberty and rights depend upon one man, it demands that we ask a question. Demands that we ask the question of what is the nature of the regime when liberty and rights depend on one man. The answer to that must be that it is a monarchy.